Today we're talking about the Expendables films. This is a series of films that started in 2010 and for the time being continued all the way up until 2023. There are 4 films in this franchise, and for the most part I do think it's actually pretty damn good. It stars Sylvester Stallone as well as many other action stars such as Dolph Lundgren, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jet Li, Bruce Willis, Terry Crews. Hell, even Chuck Norris shows up in one of the films as well. The essential idea behind the film was to take old 80s action stars and throw them all together in one big action extravaganza. And for the most part, it worked out pretty well up until a point. So without further ado, I decided to give you guys my ranking from worst to best. Starting with Expendables 4. Expendables 4 is undeniably the worst film in the series, and the most recent one released. Essentially, what this film did was lazily throw together a 4th production that Stallone had no interest in being in. Not only is the film filled with cheap CGI, really bad green screen effects, it's basically just a Jason Statham movie. Stallone only appears towards the beginning of the film and is pretty much out of commission for the rest of the film. It just leads to a kind of dull Expendables film. Not only that, the main location of the film is a boat. Between Expendables 1's opening scene, which is also on a boat, it's not really an interesting setting for an action film, mostly because there's just so little room to move around. There are a few decent action scenes here, and I do think Jason Statham is giving it his all. And Megan Fox is actually trying, believe it or not. She does an okay job in the movie, but definitely weakest of the series. Only watch if you're very curious, but just keep your expectations right at the ground level. Up next, we have Expendables 3, and I'm specifically talking about the unrated version. Unrated version is basically the only version to watch this film because the theatrical cut of this film was PG-13. Why the hell did they make a PG-13 Expendables movie when most 13-year-olds don't know who the hell these actors are? It just makes no sense to take an R-rated franchise with an R-rated audience and make it PG-13. It would be like making a PG-13 Friday the 13th movie. No one's going to watch that. Yes, PG-13 typically does better at the box office, but not when your core audience is people who are over 18 and like R-rated movies. But since we're talking about the unrated version, I can say Expendables 3 is actually pretty decent. It essentially has the biggest cast out of all the movies, and even though I really wish Chuck Norris was in this one like he was in the second one, it still is pretty cool to see Mel Gibson as the villain, and even cool to see Harrison Ford join the fray. It is not a bad film by any means, but I do think that it is a little less hard-hitting, even the unrated version, when it comes to the violence. And the story, while kind of interesting, is not really anything that will knock your socks off, but a fun entry and a decent conclusion into what should have been the last Expendables movie. Expendables 3. It's alright. Coming in at second place is the OG, The Expendables. Essentially what this film was Stallone, who was basically on something of a comeback in his career, had just made Rocky and Rambo, both successful entries into his previously established famous franchises. But then he did something that was kind of a risk, started a new franchise, when the hook of the movie was basically take these old 80s action stars who were not as popular as they once were, put all of them into a big giant ensemble cast to fight in these awesome 80s style blood and gore action scenes. It essentially is just a major throwback to 80s action, and it's pretty damn awesome. The one thing I can say about the film is that the cast is great and they all gel pretty well together. Mickey Rourke's good in the movie, Stallone is great, Schwarzenegger, even though he has one scene in the film, does a damn good job. And even Bruce Willis actually seems like he's kind of trying in this movie. And ultimately, it's just a fun 80s action film about these group of mercenaries known as the Expendables going on dangerous missions where their life doesn't really matter because they're just expendable. It's a pretty damn good premise and it works very well. The first entry is really amazing and I think it was a great cap on Stallone's comeback. And it really shows that even in his 60s, the man still had it and he did a damn good job. If you like 80s action, you'll probably love The Expendables. But the best of the series was its second outing with The Expendables 2. I actually really do enjoy this film, and I think it's the best of the series. I think that the story was a lot better this time around. It was awesome having Chuck Norris join the fray. It's such a damn shame that he wasn't in part 3, but he is awesome in this movie. Basically, they have to go up against this character played by Jean-Claude Van Damme, who's the villain of the film. And the character's name is, ready for this? Jean Villain. That's right, his name is basically John Villain. It's absolutely ridiculous, but I absolutely do love the absurdity of that. The Expendables 2 is a fun film that shows them based on a revenge quest after one of their members gets taken out at the hands of Villain. And Stallone, with the help of the other Expendables, track this guy down, stop him from wreaking havoc, and take out him and his crew, and it's really awesome. badass sequel that I really do love. Stallone has more or less retired from the action genre in recent years, pumping out a few things here and there, but, much like Expendables 4 proves, he's not really into the genre anymore, which is understandable. The man's pushing 80. But he is on full cylinders in this film, just as badass as he was in Rambo 4. And it is so awesome to see these 80s action stars going at it again. Best of the series, and one that I recommend to anyone who likes badass, bloody, and gory action. You're going to have a great time with Expendables 2. The best of the franchise. Well, that's my list. I really do enjoy these films, and with the exception of the fourth film, I think they're all pretty good movies. And 4 can even be watched as like a guilty pleasure. I do recommend this set. It's actually pretty cool. It's all 4 films on 4K, and when you slide it over, the cigar actually turns the machine gun into a cigar that the skull is smoking. The only downside is the overlay is kind of cheap. It already had like a couple like dings and cracks in it, and I bought this thing new. But you don't really need that. The steelbook is really all you need. The only downside to it is that Part 3 only includes the theatrical cut on 4K. The unrated cut is only on Blu-ray, and it's that way for all versions of the 4K version of 3. Don't know why they did that. No one's going to watch the theatrical cut ever. So just go out of your way. Just don't even include the theatrical cut, I say, and only throw in the unrated version on 4K. But apart from that one thing wrong with it, I do recommend this set. It's really awesome artwork, and you can find it in the stores still. I thank you all for watching. This has been a fun video to make. Leave your list down below if you'd like, and peace out.